What should I do?
Ah, ich weiß.
Hallo und willkommen, ich bin Meister Lehnsherr and you're watching Get Germanized, and welcome back to episode 2 of the unspoken rules in Germany, or the rules of etiquette here in Germany. Last time we talked about rules for movie theaters, shopping, educating your children in public and much more. So if you haven't seen that, go and watch it after you watch this one. But I would say let's get started right away. Lasst uns anfangen. First up, we will talk about cell phone etiquette. So rules for speaking on the phone in public. For example, if you're at a dinner date at a restaurant, your phone should be set to silent mode or even airplane mode and only be used in emergencies. If the phone, for example, is set to silent mode, you can accept the call at an outside zone somewhere else so you don't disturb anyone in the restaurant, and explain why you may be picked up late. Of course, you shouldn't let your date wait too long. Generally speaking, talking on a cell phone in a restaurant or even going outside and talking on your cell phone is considered impolite to the person waiting for you. It is common sense, but a ringing phone is a disturbance not only to dates but also to business affairs. All attention should always be given to the other person that you have the appointment with, or the date with, or the meeting with, whatever. Using your phone instead of talking to the other person, again, common sense, gives the impression that you're bored with the person and that you're not interested in talking to them whatsoever. In addition, you should never let your cell phone ring too long or too loudly, or both, even worse. Next up, etiquette and behavior at the workplace. Because even at the workplace, there are rules of conduct that must be observed. As anywhere else really, or as it should be at least, one should knock before entering an office, and only when invited in. You shouldn't just barge in and declare your ownership or rule or whatever, I don't know. But if this is not the case, if you're not invited in, you should just repeat your knocking and then slowly and quietly open the door. If you notice that the person inside is at a meeting or something like that, you should just quietly close the door again and try again at a later time. And even if the door is open beforehand, you should just knock out of courtesy. Whereas, of course, in a public area, in a public room, it is not necessary to knock first. For example, a waiting room or something like that. You just enter. But again, it is friendly to greet the other people that are already inside. In open plan offices, there's also no need to knock. And if there's a door that is to be pushed open, it is to be pushed by the lower ranking person or the host. The latter goes through the door first and holds it open for the person after them. Thus, the lower ranking person is last to go through the door. Nowadays, office spaces are mostly open plan. Desks are usually easily visible and therefore, in theory, accessible to almost everyone. Regardless, everyone has a right for privacy, even in such an office. It is considered impolite to read a colleague's email or stare at the screen for too long out of curiosity. I mean, similar to how you don't stare at someone's phone when they sit next to you, right? Also, when you are in need of a certain office supply and you know that a certain person might have it, it is still impolite to just rummage through their shelves and drawers without considering to ask them first. Or even, I mean, not to consider, to ask them first. The reason for this is, of course, that they might have stored private items in there that they do not want you to see. I mean, nothing scandalous, I hope, but still. Of course, the dress code depends on what industry you work in, but generally there is one. And not adhering to the employer's prescribed dress code might have negative effects. Why, you ask? Well, because appropriately dressing does mean to respect the rules of the company and the company itself. And in Germany, every employer has the right to issue a dress code. In many companies, of course, still depending on the industry you work in, a business attire or business casual attire is the standard. Business attire is more formal and consists out of a suit and tie for men. Ladies often wear a pantsuit or a suit with a matching blouse. Office attire is often not too formal though, and a pair of cloth pants and a button-up shirt would suffice for men. And ladies often wear skirts, blouses or dresses, and jeans are usually not part of this attire. Also make sure to wear proper shoes and not sneakers or something like that. Next up, business card etiquette in Germany. Of course, if you meet a professional contact for the first time, this usually includes exchanging business cards, at least unless you're one of those modern ones that has them on their phones. Depending on the situation, this business card might be exchanged at the beginning or the end of the conversation. Since, as we discussed formally, it is not customary to introduce yourself with the academic title, you can do so on the business card after all. If you are handed a business card, make sure to read it properly, not just take it, okay, that is rude. Read it, put it away and give them one of your own credit cards. No, business cards, maybe your credit card, depending on who you're meeting, but business cards in return. And if you're in the role of the guest at this meeting, you hand over your business card first, or the credit card. And in a larger group, the higher ranking person offers their business card first. And if you can't recognize a hierarchy in the group, you just hand out your business card one after the other. No particular order. And of course, you should be reading, again, the business card when you are handed the business card, and make eye contact with the person giving it to you. But of course, if there is a major group with like 20 to 30 people or larger, you don't have to hand out your business card to everyone there, just to the people that you have business with. Next up, behavior at the table. Of course, again, it's common sense to be punctual and dress for the occasion. So if you go to a fancy restaurant, don't just wear your jeans and sneakers and dirty t-shirt. Wear something nice. When entering the restaurant, hold open the door for your companion. Yes, this is old-fashioned and some people don't want it, but they are probably going to tell you if they don't want it. Some people still enjoy it. And if you want to be extra polite, help them out of their coats if necessary. Again, some people don't want this. Keep that in mind. Also, when toasting with an aperitif, never take it to the table. And again, common sense, but don't laugh or speak too loudly because it might disturb other guests. One of the most important things when it comes to etiquette at the table is to sit upright, relaxed, and also a few centimeters away from the table. When eating, only your forearms should touch the table, and elbows on the table are an absolute taboo. And before the first course, at the latest, the napkin that is usually on your plate should be on your lap, and it's preferably to be folded with the face upwards. And if you have your food before everyone else, the meal is not to be started before everyone has their food on the table. Before you start eating, you wish everyone guten Appetit, bon appetit, because it's just polite. During the meal, if you have more than one piece of cutlery, which is likely, work your way from the outside to the inside during each course. Of course, the plate should be not overloaded and not be too full. And if you eat, don't bring the mouth to the food, but bring the food to the mouth. That doesn't mean take your plate and eat like out of a trough. Don't do that. Also, again, common sense, don't speak with your mouth full. No. And bending across the table is also considered a faux pas. So just ask someone to hand you something from the other side of the table instead of going, I can get it, it's okay. And then splashing the sauce or whatever across the whole table. And no matter how tasty the food, don't lick your fingers and don't lick cutlery or plates or anything. It's rude. And if you need the service of the waiter, it should be signaled with a hand sign or an excuse me, Entschuldigung, entschuldigen Sie bitte. And not like, waiter, Gang Kong, or something like that. No. And of course, unless smoking is permitted, don't smoke at the table or in the restaurant. And even if smoking is permitted, ask before you just do it at the table while everyone is eating. It's just disgusting and rude. And if someone invites you to dinner and pays for you, thank them after they paid. It's just polite. Speaking of which, next up, paying etiquette in a restaurant. As a host, it is not appropriate to pay in front of your guests. The guests shouldn't know and not feel bad about what the evening has cost the host. And if you pay with your credit card, you should give the tip to the waiter in cash, because sometimes this money doesn't reach the waiter otherwise. The amount of the tip depends on the service, yes, and on the food, yes, but it's usually around 5 to 10% of the entire amount. Next up, invitation etiquette. If you're invited by someone, it is just super polite to decline or accept. Don't leave them waiting for too long, because they have to plan, they have to organize, and if they're waiting for you, it's just rude. Also, it is polite to give them a good reason. Don't just say, no, can't, nah. It's just nice to know that they're not declining or you're not declining because you just don't want to. Make up a reason if you have to, but be polite. If you're invited to a dinner, you should stay there for at least 2 to 3 hours. Don't go there, eat your food and leave. It's considered impolite. And sometimes at a dinner it might take even longer, 4 hours for example, when the host is talking and not everyone is eating all the time. And that is what you have to accept. And of course you should decide sensibly if you're still welcome or not. Don't overstay your welcome. Don't be the last person at the party. I mean, if the host has just opened another bottle of wine, then maybe they want you to stay. But if they haven't, or if they clearly want to go to bed or leave, then be polite, go. And if it's a dinner invitation, you should be there on time. Makes sense. And if someone invites you to their home, you should never come empty-handed. You should bring maybe a bouquet of flowers or a bottle of wine or something they like. So what did you think of these rules of etiquette when it comes to life in Germany? It is quite interesting to me. Of course, most of these rules everyone knows, but who really follows all of them? I know I don't, not every single rule. For example, when there's a lot of cutlery, I sometimes forget and then use just whatever. What about you? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think these rules are sensible or stupid? Would you follow them? Are you following them? Let me know. And leave a like and subscribe if you want to support the channel and if you want to show your appreciation for this video and this channel. And also you can watch another video here about, well, etiquette in Germany, because this is part 2, and you can watch another video about German culture here. And apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to get Germanized. Goodbye and auf Wiedersehen.